and happy Friday. Today we are going to be focusing on our day 9 math, and it looks like we have a math task, a little bit of practice, and some more fluency for more practice. All right, let's go ahead and get started. First, our task, we need to use pictures to explain number comparison. So again, we're working on comparing two numbers. When we do that, we need to focus on the place value. And using pictures, we are going to use our base 10 blocks. Whenever we're dealing with place value, base 10 blocks is the easiest way to represent those numbers because we understand that the larger squares represent the 100, our 10 bars represent 10, and then our individual smaller blocks represent a 1. We need to compare each pair of numbers. Write your comparison. We're going to use the less than, equal to, or greater than symbol, and in words. Explain your answer with a picture. We already have our pictures here, so let's go ahead and start with A. We are comparing 99 and 100. If you see here, 100 is a 3-digit number, so we have hundreds, tens, and ones. And if you look at 99, that is a 2-digit number, only representing the tens and the ones. So we can automatically tell that 99 is less than 100 because it does not have a number represented in that hundredth column. So we can say that 99 is less than 100. And if you look at our pictures here, we have a hundreds block that represents the 100, and we have our 10 blocks. We have 9 10 bars and then 9 ones that represents that 9. So that is explaining the answer with a picture. Moving on to B, we are comparing 154 and 231. Here you can see that we have a 1 that represents a 100 block that represents the 1 in 154. We have 5 10 bars and we have 4 ones. And comparing that to 231, we have 200 blocks to represent that 2 in the 100 spot. We have 3 10 bars to represent that 3 in the 10 spot, and we have 1 to represent the 1 in the ones column. As you can see, it would be really easy just based off of pictures to decide that this would be the larger number because there are more blocks. But again, remember, we're focusing on that place value. It's not about how many blocks, it's about the value of each set of blocks. And over here we have 2 hundreds, and here we have 1. Focusing on that place value and each digit, we're going to compare the hundreds. We have a 1 and we have a 2. Automatically 2 is greater than 1, so we know that 154 is less than 231. Checking your work, remember those alligator videos. The alligator mouth is facing the larger number. Okay, and we're going to move on to the next 2 parts of our math task. Again, doing the exact same thing. We are comparing those numbers using pictures. So just draw those base 10 blocks to represent each number. You can either count the base 10 blocks or you can compare based on the place value. We have 453 and 428, and we need to determine if 453 is less than, greater than, or equal to 428. Starting in the hundreds column, we have a 4, letting us know that has the same value. So we need to move next door to our tens column where we have a 5 and we have a 2. 5 is greater than 2, so we know that 453 is greater than 428. And showing your work in blocks, you are just using those to represent each number. So here we have 453, 1, 2, 3, 4, that represents the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 10 bars, that represents the 5 in that tens column, and 1, 2, 3 ones, that represents the 3 in the ones column. And again, the same thing with 428. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 to represent the hundreds, 1, 2 tens to represent the tens column, and then we have 8 ones that represent that 1 in the 8th spot. And moving on to the last part of our math task, we have D, where we are comparing 351 and 354. Representing that using a picture, I have drawn the base 10 blocks that represents each number. As you can see here, we have 351, and over here we have 354. You can either count the base 10 blocks or just compare each number based on its place value, which is what I'm going to do. Focusing on the hundreds, there is a 3 in each hundreds, letting me know that value is the same, so we need to move next door to the tens column. We have a 5 and a 5. Again, that value is the same, so now we need to move over to the ones column where we are comparing a 1 and a 4. 1 is less than 4, so we know that 351 is less than 354. We are going to move on to some more math practice, lesson 7, where we are comparing numbers. We need to compare the numbers in the box, and it says to cut the symbols from the bottom of the page and glue. You can do that if you do not have scissors or glue, or you don't want to. You can just draw in the less than, greater than, or equal to symbol in this middle box. Okay, the first thing we need to do, because it has shown us numbers in different forms, standard form and expanded form, and it's easier if we just put all of those numbers, we put them in standard form, and it makes them easier to compare because we can focus on the place value of each digit in those numbers. So I'm going to start with the first one here, and it says we have 3 ones, 4 tens, and 2 hundreds. This is why it's very important to focus on that place value, because it would be very easy to say that number is 342. But we need to go based on place value. Remember, hundreds, tens, and ones. So I'm going to count how many hundreds. And here there are 2 hundreds, there are 4 tens, and there are 3 ones. So I am comparing 243, and I'm going to come over here, and we are comparing that. Here we have a number in expanded form, so we are going to put that in standard form to make it easier to compare. And we have 2 hundreds, we have 1 10, and we have 4 ones. So I am comparing 243 to 214. So starting in the hundreds column, we have a 2 in each, so we know that value is equal. We need to move over to the tens column where we have a 4 and we have a 1. We know that 4 is greater than 1, so that tells us that 243 is greater than 214. Moving on to the next one here, I have another number in expanded form, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in standard form, which just makes it easier to compare. We have 6 hundreds plus 30, which 30 is equal to 3 tens, plus 0. There are no ones, but a number still has to represent it. So the 0 is going to represent that. But we know that 0 has no value. Okay, moving over, now we have them in word form. We have 6 tens, 6 ones, 4 tens, and 6 hundreds. Remember, we need to go in order of place value. So we have 6 hundreds, which is going to give us a 6 in the hundreds column. We have 4 tens, which is going to give us a 4 in the tens column. And we have 6 ones. So we are comparing 630 to 646. If we go in order and look at the hundreds, there is a 6 in each. So we know we need to move over to the tens column because 6 hundreds, that value is the same. We are comparing 3 and 4. We know that 3 is less than 4, so that can let us know that 630 is less than 646. All right, and then I'm going to let you guys do these next two on your own. Again, just write out the numbers in standard form on each side, and then focus on that place value where you are starting with the hundreds. If those are the same, you're working your way to the tens. If those are the same, you're working your way over to the ones. If you have any questions on these two, please message me on class tag or leave a message in the comments below, and I will get back to you, but that will be good practice for you. And then lastly, we are going to end our week on some fluency practice, where we need to determine which one is bigger. We have 105 and we have 150. Again, it's using the exact same numbers, but the value of these numbers is going to be different based on where the digit is in the number. So we are going to be comparing 105 and 150, and we need to know which one is bigger. Well, starting with the hundreds column, we have a 1 in each column, a 1, so we know that value is the same. So we need to move over to the tens column, where we have a 0 and we have a 5. Because it's asking us which one is bigger, well, 5 is greater than 0, so we know 150 is the largest number. And again, it wants us to determine that based on models or visuals. Here we have our base 10 blocks where we're representing 105 and then 150. And as you can see, 150 base 10 blocks is more than 105 base 10 blocks. When we are using a number line comparing these numbers, which number would come last on the number line? Because when it's asking for the bigger number, it's asking for the number with the greatest value. And the number with the greatest value is going to be closest to the end of the number line, not at the beginning. So based on their value, 105 comes before 150. So we know 150 is the bigger number. How do we know our answer is correct? We know because we checked each place value in order. We went starting with the hundreds column, moving over to the tens column, and we got to stop there because we knew that 5 was greater than 0. I hope you all had a great week. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.